video about pixelation and IRL streaming in the mountains. And so I'm going to kind of, this is kind of a video blog test of it. So if you look at this, this stretch right here, you can see every once in a while you'll get a frame that's really good, right? But most of the frames are totally messed up. There's a couple of reasons for this. The first reason is, and you can tell because the pixelation is actually happening on the arms and stuff. This is this is fundamentally caused. This is fundamentally caused by a lack of bit rate, and usually a lack of bit rate is a low bit rate is because you are limited by your provider. And I am this is I'm trying to this is my favorite trail. So there's a couple things to consider. The other thing is when you have a bunch of stuff going on in the frame, it makes it really, really hard for any encoder, including OBS, to do that. In fact, 6,000 kilobits per second as a bit rate, which is the standard for Twitch that they allow. You do anything beyond that, they they give you problems. Um, and the problem with that is so to get okay. So let me just net this out for you. In order to stream, live stream, or even to record, you can go watch videos on YouTube. This level of detail at this speed needs a minimum of 12,000 kilobits per second bitrate for encoding, and usually 60 frames per second, unless you want that kind of blurred out effect. And that level of bitrate on over two bonded modems or even three bonded modems is almost impossible, because you're just not going to, you'd have to have perfect signal. And we have had that before. We were at Mazeppa Park. We're like right under a tower the whole time. The trail sucks though. I mean, it's not a very good trail. I'm just going to say it. It's got too many berms. It doesn't have enough jump lining stuff. It's not nearly as good as this particular one. So if you want to do the impossible, which is what we're trying to do, we're trying to actually live stream in a limited modem area, with with extremely high speeds. And let me just to give you a sense of this. I mean, you can still. This is when I was going really slowly, but I want to compare it to. I want to show you that it actually can be done. So here, look at the quality is a little bit better, and the reason the quality is better. And watch, I actually come to a stop. So when I come to a stop, look at how great it is, because the encoder doesn't have to fight. The encoder doesn't have to fight with a bunch of extra stuff. It just reuses the same stuff. So that's how encoding in IRL streaming happens. This is kind of a fast one. We got a raid. We got a lot of follows that day. But as soon as I start moving, check it out. As soon as I start moving, the image loses quality because the encoder can't keep up with how fast the whole screen is changing. There are a number of things you can do here. You can actually turn off ultra wide. See here, you can actually read it. You can turn off ultra wide, and it's less data to capture. Another thing you can do is you can turn down the frames per second. So I'm at 30 frames per second. It's still hard. Another thing you can do is you can turn down the total screen size. So it's 720. If I know that I'm going to be pixelating that badly, then I can cut that in half and go to 720 if your camera will support it. My Action 4 camera will not stream at 720. So it will only stream at 1080 30 in UVC modes. But I'm going to try to. So these are all things that you can do. This particular section of is actually a really good section. So this section is right next to the lake, so we have really good modem signal. And as live streams go, that's pretty damn good. It is nearly impossible to get a really good 4K sort of looking stream. So this is the best that we can hope to get right here, in my opinion. And I feel like it I mean, people know that it's a live stream, so they know it's not going to be the best possible quality. And another thing I learned is that if you take regular breaks, the algorithm can catch up, and go up to the higher bit rate. So something I should mention is I'm actually streaming at 12,000 kilobits per second here, even though it's not coming near that, because when we are in really good signal area, that level of bit rate, even though it gets sampled down to 2,000 or to 6,000, is really good for um, is good for capturing all the detail before it even goes up to OBS to get downsampled. But there's actually one last little detail that I noticed about this, and that is the letters. If you look at the letters, you see how Sherrilsport, North Carolina, United States, and May 1st over here, they have artifacts around them. And that was a clue because those text-based things are being added at the OBS level. That's not an encoding problem with the rig. This is probably one of the better sections right here where the quality stays good. So that is caused. That is a clue. That is a clue that something about the encoding on the OBS side is unable to keep up with the amount of detail. And again, there's several times that encoding has to happen. One of the places is on the Bella box. Well, actually, no. One of the places is on the camera itself. And then another place is on the Bella box, Orange Pi. And then, or skid out. And then another place is in OBS itself before it goes to Twitch, right? Actually, there's one other one. There's an SRT there's a conversion that happens up in the cloud as well. So there's like 3 or 4 different places where encoding happens. And so part of the stuff, so look, look here. Look here. You see this? The image quality is really good, but you see, look, we still have artifacts on the United States. You see that? We still have artifacts. That is a key. That is a key indicator that this has nothing to do, that particular part of the encoding problem is actually happening in OBS itself. And so I did a change here, and I actually wrote about this. If you want to go to my Zotocast, and here it is. So here's the current settings that I'm going to try. So encoder X264, everybody on any place that ever reads says use your CPU encoding, it gets finer detail. It's better than hardware encoding, but it's harder on your computer. You got to make sure your computer is dedicated, which means doing things like turning off my virtual machines and anything else that might be doing it. I have rescale set to disable. You never want that on. CBR, always for live streaming. That is a fixed bit rate. If you don't do that, it'll variable stuff, and that's only good for recording because that'll mess up all the people watching you. Bitrate 6,000. That is the maximum allowed by who do I want to say? Twitch. But you can mess with this. YouTube actually allows much more than that. You can go all the way up to 8, but you might get flagged and they might start throttling your stream and all kinds of stuff. I don't want to risk it, so I just send 6, which still gets me warnings a lot. The keyframe 2 seconds, that's just a standard. That's how every 2 seconds. I'm actually thinking about changing this to 3 seconds. That's how long it takes to render each frame, and that also is related to lag. CPU usage is normally on medium. I put mine on slow. Last time I had this on slower, and everybody said that it was like stop frame animation because it was like the image quality was ridiculously good, but it couldn't render it because it forces it to put high quality in there. And on medium it's set to normal average quality, and slow is set to high quality. If we get that stop motion, so today we're going to do a test, and if we get that stop motion again but with slow, I'm going to consider upgrading my CPU and buying a better computer because I don't want my computer slowing down the bitrate. One of the things that I did that I think will help reduce the CPU load is I changed my FPS, my frames per second, to 30 instead of 60. So that should give my CPU plenty of time, I'm hoping, to be able to do that rendering. And I don't know if you see this, the blurring out, like people are making fun of me being a spaz here, but you see how I'm doing that thing? Yeah, that's because I have motion blur set up because I'm actually streaming from right now I'm streaming from a Pocket 3, which has a 25 frames per second set, which is it's cinematic, by the way. That means that you're going to get blurring that's going to match your eye. In fact, people that shoot movies, they deliberately cause blurring, otherwise you get weird stuff, and you can go look on YouTube about that. So why does that matter? Because I think that we can go all the way down to 30. Unfortunately, on my Action 4 camera, I cannot set it to 25, and I don't even know if I'm going to be able to set it to 720. We are going to stick with 1920 by 1080 with the reduced frames per second, which should help, and that should give us some stuff. So this is I don't even know what profile is, but somebody said set that to high and tune to none. So these are the settings for OBS that we're currently testing today, and I will report back on the video. But hopefully that gives you a sense of what things look like. Um, People remind me. This is actually probably something worth talking about at the end here. We got rated. Actually, let me go all the way back before we leave. Let me show you the absolute best. So here is 100% amazing signal. You'll notice the artifacts around the letters are almost negligible. And I don't know quite why that is, because the letters are coming in from OBS. So again, I think this is an OBS symptom. I mean, check it out. There are no artifacts around the letters. So I'm hopeful that the problem has been CPU encoding. That we haven't been giving enough power to OBS to actually encode the signal coming in. And here's a good example of this. I mean, if you look at the letters, just you can see that the artifacts start to come in. But right now we have really crazy good signal. We have a relatively simple stream. There's not a lot of leaves. There's a lot of blue sky, which means the CPU encoder, is encoding no problem. And there's no trees around. There's this similarly colored bump track. I mean, look at the detail on that track. This is when we got rated, actually, and because I mean, look at how great that is. I obviously that would be the thing to do. I want to get it so I can get that level of quality for the entire stream. That is like my goal. If I can't do that, fine. But I just wanted to show you before we end what a really good, high quality live. This is live stream. This is not even, this is not even a 4K. Now we start to lose it. See, because we kind of dip under, and then we're gonna hit. There it goes. See, it starts to go. And then the algorithm tries to catch up and it starts to pixelate. It can't do the bandwidth thing. Although right there, you'll notice that the letters are still very clear. So that was more of a signal degradation issue, and not so much an OBS can't keep up with all the detail on the screen. There's just many factors. So I'm going to get off the bump track here in just a second, and we're going to bomb the trail. And you're going to see I'm immediately going to leave signal because I'm going to go behind this mountain, and I'm no longer going to have direct line of sight to the tower, which we know is kind of straight ahead in that shot right there. So on this one, we're going to actually go hit, and then we get rated from Sarah. And of course, as soon as I get rated, the signal goes to shit because I go behind the berm. Here we go. We go behind the hill, and immediately, boom, no signal. Here it comes. No signal. So, and you can't do anything with no signal. But once you get no signal, it's kind of hard for the Bellobox to recover. And now it's trying to push the encoding back up. But we're moving so fast now that both the OBS encoder and the Bellobox encoder are like, what the hell? The bit rate's pretty low. I mean, this is watchable. It's watchable because there's at least you can see what's happening. And that's actually what I was going to end with. This segment right here is kind of hard to watch because we are on the back side of a hill, and so the bit rate is really low. We're only pushing like 1,000 kilobits per second here or something. It's like right around 1,000. Another modem here might actually help. It certainly didn't stop anybody from following though. We had a lot of people follow right here, even with the crappy video. Because you can still kind of see what's going on. It still gives you a sense of it, and it's live streaming. As people constantly remind me, it's live streaming. They don't care. They do care if it's grayed out and you can't see anything and it's robot voice. But if it's this and they know that you're pushing the boundaries, I feel like they'll still stay with you. I feel like people will stay with you. Will they? People? I hope they'll stay with me. So I mean that was kind of the idea that I wanted to end with. Is I wanted to end with the idea that you really don't have. I'm going to turn this. I'll leave it on because it's fun to watch, right? You really, if you're live streaming, they're there for you, even if you don't. I've been told this so many times. It's hard for me to repeat it because I still have a hard time believing this. People are there for you. They'll watch you. Usually with no matter what. If they have a decent stream and they can hear you, they generally speaking they'll put up with all kinds of crap. And if you watch on Twitch and you see all the people who stream with janky video, and believe me, there's some video in there I cannot believe 3,000 people are watching it. So when you consider that, then when you look at this, sort of low res trail, you get the sense of being on the trail with me. You can hear it, and you can still see the berms, everything. I'm really happy with the Action 4 for this particular trail, and I feel like even though this doesn't, it's not super sharp because we know it can be sharper. It's good enough for live streaming because it's it's good enough. So my favorite mountain bike trail is opened, has opened up, and people are having a lot of fun with it. So that's all. I'm going to cut you off, everybody. I'm actually, maybe I'll leave this for the final, because it'll be like the last. Oh, see, there we go. There's a gray. Now that people will not put up with that. By the way, it's only the most faithful among your community that will put up with like total gray or F for the whole time, right? People do not like that. They don't like that. That's when you start hearing from people. Another thing too, I realized. Oh, one last thing, take breaks. If you take breaks every once in a while, your encoder can catch up, and then once the encoder algorithm catches up, you can go off again, and you'll get really good signal for a while because you know you're. I wish you could change the speed of the adaptation rate of the Belobox algorithm, which detects how good your signal is. I really do, because sometimes I'll go through a dark spot and my signal will degrade to nothing, and then Belobox has to incrementally boost up the signal all the way back up to where it was, and I really am annoyed by that, to tell you the truth. I'm annoyed by that because if I have a little tiny ebb spot, I want it to stay at that higher rate. I want it to go pop right back up to it, but the algorithm is a little bit too lethargic, and it kind of like says, "Oh, do we really have this much or not?" You know, and it keeps going up and up and up. So that's and by the way, so here we are. We're stopping, and the quality got good again because we stopped. So hopefully this is a good video to give us a sense of how to accomplish live streaming in the worst possible conditions. I mean this is the worst possible conditions you could ever hope for. Minimal signal. But signal. You cannot stream without a signal. You at least have to have some signal to bond or whatever. Minimal signal, lots of activity, high speed, lots of jankiness. So there's not a lot of people who have made videos about live streaming this level of active content, and I just want to put this one out there to help you. If you have feedback, please give me your feedback. In the comments, and we'll work it out. I told you what I'm trying. If you want to come back with me and do the different testing, you can do that. But I am seriously still considering a third modem, because that would give me another 600 kilobits per second bandwidth minimum for this, and that might just be enough to push us over the edge where we get those sharper images for a larger percent of it. Have I looked at things other than OBS? I have not. That would be interesting to look into. So here's where the image starts to get a little bit better, because we're by the lake again. So a good place to end the video. Bye.